everyone and welcome from beautiful Austria. Almost 2 years restaurants and hotels closed, and you notice that when you drive through. I do not want to say anything about this anymore. Today it should be about the RF 14-35 f4 lens. This review was made possible thanks to Objektivvermietung.de, so be sure to test this lens before you spend 1800 euros. If you are sure, you can actively support my channel by buying this lens via the link listed in the video description. The lens weighs 540 grams and of course it comes including a protective pouch, a plastic lens hood and a protection against dust and splash water. To protect the front element I recommend a 77mm filter. On the side we find two switches, one for autofocus and manual focus and the other one for the image stabilizer. By the way, this compensates 5.5 stops and in combination with the Canon EOS R5 or R6, 7 stops. I was also able to take blur-free pictures with 1/5 of a second shutter speed. There's also the RF ring, which can be used to change the shutter speed, aperture, or for instance the ISO and many more things. I use it to change the focus field. For me it's a better choice than the Samyang or Canon RF 14mm 2.8. Not because of the triple price, but because of the focus which runs more smoothly during video mode. The Samyang or Canon is great for taking pictures, but not so good for moving images. For instance when you use a gimbal. There's a detailed review on my channel as well. The RF 14-35mm has a very decent lens flare. Here are some shots with differential focal lengths and aperture settings. Let's move on to the dark edges. At 14mm, no matter what aperture, you can see significant vignetting without correction. The further you zoom, the less the vignetting. At 35mm and f5.6, you'll see almost no dark edges. I have packed a whole series of shots at different focal lengths and apertures into the video description. I could not see chromatic aberrations even when enlarging the photos. Well done, Canon. Until now I had always used the Samyang 14mm RF to shoot myself with the Canon EOS R5. Actually I was satisfied except for the focus, which is significantly worse compared to the RF 14-35mm. If you want to use the 14-35mm for vlogging, you can see how it looks. The eye autofocus was very precise. With a gimbal and the Canon EOS R5 or R6, it can get quite heavy after a few moments. For me, an ideal lens for video blogs and landscape photography. If you like to record moving images with the Canon EOS R, you have a crop factor of 1.78 in 4K. Have fun with the following clips. A great lens for all filmmakers. In a moment, it's all about portraits with an ultra wide angle lens. But before, we were in Sölden, Austria for you, didn't hit the slopes, but I took these cool shots for you. The internal image stabilizer is really stunning. Such handheld shots with such a long exposure time were unthinkable years ago. I tested the whole thing for you in video mode and on the Canon EOS R5. That's how it looks like. Now we know that this lens has a powerful image stabilizer. If you have less steady hands or no EOS R5 or R6, you should simply take such a small tripod with you on your trips. You can find the link in the video description. For astrophotography, I would wait and see if Canon will release, for instance, a 16 or 24mm with a fast aperture. Because at f4 you have to expose quite long to let the starry sky shine. Still recommended for shooting in the city or in the wilderness with a tripod, but not for video in the dark. In my opinion, one of the main reasons for such a lens is landscape photography. This lens is just perfect for that. With a tripod, you are on the safe side. We definitely had some fun in Austria. Absolutely recommended. What I personally found very nice are these close-ups. You can get as close as 20 centimeters to your subjects and achieve such results. If you want to shoot in slow motion, it's simply awesome. Ideal for the beauty of this nature. Even if you're just out and shooting architecture in your favorite city, you can rely on this lens. A big problem with ultra-wide angle lenses is that buildings often fade into the background. In my opinion, the RF 14 to 35mm does a good job. Feel free to compare the performance with the RF 15 to 35mm. You can find a detailed review on my channel as well. If you have a different opinion, feel free to leave a comment below this video.
I heard you say it. We're falling like stars, and I didn't notice the chaos inside my heart. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me?
Here's another small example of how 14 to 35mm looks like. This is the zoom check.
I feel so close to you.
The RF 14 to 35mm f4 also scores when it comes to bokeh. The closest focusing distance makes a lot possible in combination with the 9 aperture blades. The closer you are, the softer the bokeh.
Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. You thought I knew. Thought I knew.
This time we'll not finish up with the bokeh, but with wide-angle portraits. Personally, I didn't think this would be so much fun, but with a cool backdrop, cool people, you can get stunning shots. Thanks to everyone who contributed to this video. Maybe a cool lens for weddings and parties too. I have not been able to test the RF 14 to 35mm at a club yet. If you want to see more sample files, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Telegram. Of course, this lens can score when it comes to vlogging. Here are some great shots, mostly taken at 14mm in combination with the Canon EOS R5. So far I'm more than happy with the ultra wide angle lens. So I'd love to have a 14 to 35mm with a 2.8 aperture in the same compact format and for the same price, but let's dream for a moment. This lens is a perfect companion for travel, video blogs, landscape photography and spectacular scenery. As you could see, also for portraits. Remember to test this lens before you buy it. You can find the link to objektivvermietung.de in the video description. You can support my channel by buying the shown products via the link listed in the video description. All the best from Austria and see you very soon. Servus!